Welcome back to Healthy and Happy Living with Teriaq, where we explore practical tips, expert advice, and inspiring stories to help you live a life full of health, happiness, and balance. I am Dalia Gamil. Hopefully, you can hear my smile. Today, we have a special guest joining us, Mr. Mohamed Hani, gifted rehabilitation specialist with expertise in physical and occupational therapy, as well as a leading advocate for children with cortical visual impairment at I Walk and Talk Clinic. With years of experience helping children and families navigate developmental challenges, Mr. Hani brings a wealth of knowledge and compassion to the table. In today's episode, we will be discussing key strategies to support children's health, understanding the importance of early intervention, and how we can all contribute to a more inclusive world of children with special needs. Let's dive in and learn together. Welcome, Mr. Hani. Mr. Hani, what drew you to this field?
When I was young, I experienced how it seems like to be delayed in acquisition of your skills because I start talking in 4 years. So it was like an issue that my family always asked about: is my child's normal or no? Is he gonna be talking in normal way or no? And even my walk was delayed. I think I did walk in 3 years because I have seizures in my brain until 8. I didn't remember all of this, but after I finished my high school and now I have the choice to choose between dentistry and to be a dentist or to choose to be a physiotherapist, here it comes to my brain. No, I can do help those people. I can do help them because it was one doctor. He was a foreign consultant who just came to Alexandria, and he mentioned to my father one drug. After I take it, everything come okay.
Wow.
When I was 6, so it was 6 years of struggling, of asking questions that no one can even answer because I am talking about 1998. So it was not like now, you don't have an open source like Google to ask or something like that. So when I have to choose, I choose to support those children. That's why.
That's really inspiring. So,
Yeah.
physiotherapy and rehabilitation for you is a mission rather than a job.
Yeah.
What exactly does a pediatric rehabilitation specialist do?
Okay, a family will say my child facing a developmental delay. This developmental delay can be in gross motor domain. So my child may be struggling with head control, sitting, standing, or walking, or maybe in fine motor skills. So my child is doing good in gross motor skills, but now he can't hold the pen, he can't cut a paper with a scissor and so on. He can't play with his arms, or he's struggling with balance or any ADL activities. Or maybe he is facing an issue with higher cognitive, like he facing learning disabilities, or he can't speak well. I have to dig to the root cause. What's behind this? Why this child is interfering with the environment in atypical pattern? And here I start to investigate more about the root causes, what's behind the neurophysiology, what's insult maybe the child facing during when he was in embryology or after delivery and so on. So the families are just inquiring and they are seeking for one answer. What's behind this delay?
Excellent. And how does early intervention impact a child's life?
Starting from the child in the uterus until he reached 5 months after delivery, this is the stage that we called phase 1 in neurogroup selection theory. This phase which the brain start to explore the body. Like I am new here in this building, so in my first day, I have to meet someone to make orientation for me. Here's the pantry, this is your office, this is the bathroom, and so on. If no one catch my hand and navigating me through the building, I can, even I wanted to go to kitchen, for example, I don't know how I do it. So related to the neurogroup selection theory, the child based on CBGs start to making involuntary movements throwing his arms and his legs, and the aim of all of those movements is just the brain is exploring the pathways. So after 5, when he is aiming to move his arm to play, he knows what is the shortest pathway and the most efficient one. Children facing upper motor neuron lesion, they have spasticity, they have high tone, they are not moving well, they have retained primitive reflexes. So this child is not equipped yet. So after 5 months is when the brain now is ready, supposed to be ready to interact with the environment. He doesn't know what he should do. He knows only 1 or 2 pathologic pathways. That's why the children may acquire the skill, but they they are doing it in an even way, in a pathologic synergy. So in early intervention, whatever I am doing physiotherapy for the child before 5 months, I am helping him to explore his body well and to establish a correct pathways. We are the earliest we are starting physiotherapy and occupational therapy with the children, the more we will achieve with the child.
That's interesting. Mr. Hani, what is cortical visual impairment and how it is different from other types of visual impairment?
When we are talking about CVI, we are talking mainly with a child who is a struggle in interacting with the environment depending on visual cues. So everybody, you may meet someone who is wearing glasses. Why he is wearing glasses? Because the signal which is delivered from the eye to the brain has an issue. Here, when we are talking about cortical visual impairment, we are talking with a child who isn't interacting with the environment through vision, but you can't explain why he can't see. You are moving your hands in front of him, he can't see. He can't recognize his mother or father's faces. He doesn't know, he doesn't participate in the environment through his eyes. But all of his investigation is going good. So if you want to know more about this, we have to make a back step and to know what is the neurophysiology behind this. Our eyes is a receptor who is collecting those physical agents, which is the color, the shape, and all of the vision we can see. Then this picture is transmitted to the occipital lobe in the brain. But till now, you can't see. I can't say that you can see. After the occipital lobe in the brain is receiving this input, he is moving his input in two pathways to the brain to answer two questions. What I am seeing and where I can see. Because if you are knowing that this is something, for example, this object is our mobile phone and I want to make a call, but you are struggling to find it. So I know what, but I don't know where. Okay, so you can't do any action or any movement based on visual cue until you're answering both of those questions. So what and where is in temporal lobe and in parietal lobe, and those lobes are distinguished of occipital lobe. So in this case, CVI, which is cortical visual impairment, the child is likely to be blind, but not because of problem in the eye, or no because of problem in the occipital lobe. Now we are telling it's cortical visual impairment. Like I can't speak Russian. Okay, I can speak Russian, but if someone is telling me something in Russian language, I will not respond to it. Not because I have an issue in my ears, not because I have an issue of standing and walking, for example, if he is asking me to bring something for him, but because my brain, after receiving his voice, he can't understand what he's saying.
He can translate into Russian.
That's it. So in CVI, the brain can translate the message which has been delivered through the eyes.
Oh. And what are the signs and symptoms parents or caregivers should look for?
After 3 months, your child has to start interacting with his vision in midline. So, for example, if he's lying on his back and you're holding a toy in front of his head, he's supposed to start to playing it with both of his hands between 4 and 5 months. And he has to start to tracking scan. So, if your child has a struggle in focus his eyes on object, and if you are fixed his head or her head, and you are moving the object, so now he has to track. So we are talking about moving the eye on a fixed head. If your child has a struggle on those, might be like a cue or like an alarm, so that your child may be facing a problem in this.
Okay. And how do physical and occupational therapy support children with cortical visual impairment?
Let's say that the most crucial thing in all of gross motor and fine motor skills is balance. And balance is related to 3 main sensory systems: the vestibular system, proprioception system, and vision. In general, you need your vision to scan and to navigate inside something. So when we are facing a child with CVI, this child will face a complication related to this issue, that he will facing balance issue and he has delaying in his gross motor and fine motor. So CVI can see, but they are see under certain circumstances, because there are 10 criteria for him. Like for the example of the Russian, I don't speak Russian, but I know only 3 or 4 words. So if someone in Russian want to communicate with me, he will struggle and try to deliver the message he want to say with me with only those 4. So for example, they have color detection, they only detect yellow and red. They prefer to see circular things. They want to see on a black background and so on. And even in Europe, there are CVI specialists in every school, and is related mostly to the occupational therapist, because if a class has one child with CVI, and it's a broad range, we are making a CVI range for them to give them a score, so the child will be subcategory to phase 1, phase 2, and phase 3. So if I'm facing a child, or my class have a child with CVI, I have to modify the classroom and the environment to just accelerate the delivering of the signal from his eye to his brain. So whatever you know what is the phase of your child, we can support him by modifying the home and the educational classroom for him to just accelerate his participation in the environment.
That's nice. Mr. Hani, what are your recommendations and tips for creating a cortical visual impairment friendly environment at home?
In our treatment, we want to be specified. Every child has his unique needs, so it always depends on his CVI range, because we have 10 characteristics. After making or conducting the assessment, we detect which one the child is need, which one the child has pass. Okay, so for example, or in general, he has, like I told you, color specification, or he's preferring in certain color. You don't have to put a lot of things which will make him struggle with finding a certain thing he need. And in general, if you go to YouTube, for example, and you said any song like Wheels on the Bus, It's Bitsy Spider, and you type CVI friendly, you will find that it is the same song, but now in black background, and just all of the elements will be in yellow or red, because that's how the brain will now interacting with it. And it's like the magical tip we give to all children for all the family story, because now the family will call us immediately and say, now my child can look to the phone. Before, no, he just rotating his head because he want to hear, but he can't make an eye contact. But when you deliver some message that the brain can see, which is the most easiest step, to give it on a yellow and red object and on a black background. There is a lot of another sophisticated tips, but it has to be unique for every child. So after we make or conduct our CVI assessment, we modify the home and all of the environment for the child to facilitate his interaction with the environment through visual cues.
So it's clear now. And talking about YouTube example, if we talk about the interplay between physical and occupational therapy, what are the differences and overlaps between the two disciplines?
Okay, now we are treating, or we are dealing, when we talk, for example, in upper motor neuron lesions, we are talking about CP or hypoxia, so on. We are dealing with a brain who can't automatically acquisition all of his skills. In normal, the child after delivery, no one teaches the brain anything, but the brain around 3, he knows how to lift the head. Around 6 months, he know how to sit. Around 8, he know how to crawl and creeping. 1 year to 1 year and 8 months, he know how to walk, and so on. When we are talking about an insult with the brain, so now the brain is struggling with an issue. He can't do it on an autopilot mode. We want to support him, but the brain doesn't do anything in a unique way. No, our brain knows how to walk and in the same time to hold the mobile phone and to type something. So this is a merge between a gross motor skill and fine motor skill. In our approach, we just make a very, very deep assessment for the child, and we do detect what is the prerequisite missed in gross motor skills, in fine motor skills, and speech. And then now we do a specified plan for the child to support each thing. Because in occupational therapy, we just give a lot of attention to the fine motor skills and the way how the child will participate in his ADL activities. In gross motor skills or PT, no, we now have to focus on gross motor skills only. And those gross motor skills mainly are the prerequisites for fine motor skills. So for example, if I met a family and they told me that my child can't walk till now, okay? On occupational therapy, I can work with him on how he can navigate through a wheelchair. But in physiotherapy, no, we will struggle how to make him stand and walk even if he can't do this. So occupational therapy, how you can be independent in your life, but in physical therapy, we can promote this, we can go with a child in further, and both of them are completing each other.
That's interesting. And how both therapies work together to support developmental milestones?
This is a great question. As I told you before, it always depends on the assessment, because after we hear from the family and even do our assessment, because maybe the family told us my child can sit, but after the assessment we see that he is sitting but in a atypical way. So this limit his fine motor skill. For example, he can't hold a bottle and drink water because he's sitting using his hands. If you lift his hands from the ground, he will fall. So after detecting all of the prerequisites, now we will see which approaches in which speciality will support this or will seek for this goal. So maybe some goals are related more to the physiotherapy and another goal were related to fine motor or to occupational therapy. But as a one picture, we will see that after 1 month or 2 months, the child now is participating well. That's it. So after the assessment, we will just distributing the goals between the two specifications.
Interesting. Mr. Hani, please share with us some real-world examples of progressing children due to integrative therapy approaches.
Okay, there's a child I can't miss, and he's a very unique warrior. I know there are a lot of warriors, but this one is unique because he was delivered in 25 weeks only. He was 700 grams and he was 25 centimeter. He was incubated for 5 months. And I met him while he was 3 years, and he was a struggle with sitting and standing. Regarding his MRI, he has cerebellum hypoplasia, so the right cerebellum, because cerebellum has right and left, and cerebellum, for who don't know, is responsible for balance in general. His right cerebellum is not existing. You can't find it. So regarding his diagnosis and all of the objective investigation he did, he will not able to do any bilateral coordination based movement. So he can't walk. Maybe he can throw a ball, but anything that needs a bilateral coordination between our right and left body, he can do it. But after doing an intensive DMI for 1 year, and that's need him to work with me 2 hours daily, 6 days per week. And that's why I told that his family and his is a warrior, because even intensive is not available here in every, and it's not covered by insurance yet in all facilities. So his family has to pay in self-cash for it, which was a big load for them. But eventually they now can walk, can step up in a ladder. He's participating with in the nursery, because today now he's joining KG1, so he's starting his school. So now you can see how Zain is walking beside his colleagues. Now he can participating well inside the school. The families always tell me, I don't know how Zain would even participate in all of this if he is still walking in a walking chair. He will see that he is different from the others. And here everyone is supporting the child to be merged with the normal. I don't want to say normal, but so neurotypical children. But now, because he started to walk, it was a different experience for him. So I really appreciate what Zain did with us.
Yeah, God bless. And of course, it's really appreciated because by the end of the day, he will always appreciate what his family did for him.
Yeah, for sure.
And of course, you.
Alhamdulillah.
Alhamdulillah. What are the most common misconceptions about rehabilitation therapy for kids?
Okay, what I have met, depending on my experience, it's that with those children, the issue with the muscle strength and muscle stretch is a great myth, and it's a very bad concept in all of the families, because it's not about strength. You know, when a child with CP is confirmed that its diagnosis is CP, his diagnosis is CP, it depends on making MRI for him. So, but in lower motor, like the children faces myopathy, missing spinal muscle atrophy and all of this, they need to make EMG, okay? On those children, they did not do this. Why? Because the muscle has no issue. It's that the brain doesn't send the proper signal to the muscle. So it's a waste of time if you think that your child is struggling in standing, walking, or sitting because he has a problem on weakness of the core muscle or weakness of the lower limb. The muscle is doing great. Even now, it's weak because the muscle doesn't, because the child doesn't use it for a long time. But it was not the root cause. The root cause is from the brain. So all of the physiotherapy approaches that we are trying to do now is just like we are talking to the brain and push it to make the automatic reaction, which facilitates the acquisition of those skills. So if you just bring a child and you try to move his limbs and to make strengthening program for it, the brain even doesn't understand what you are doing. Like now I am in travel and I have my car And I told my brother, please every day go down and start the engine and close it, because I don't want the car to have an issue because of the disuse. Okay. And when I come back, I saw my car, the tires blown down, the engine has a problem because the car didn't move for like 2 years. So I asked my brother why this car didn't move. He told me because the tire need to blown up. So I blown the tire, I do all the mechanics, and then I asked my brother, now move with the car. He told me I can't. Why? I can't drive. So the root cause was that my brother can't drive. Even you are fixing all of those related issues, which is a related complication of the car didn't move for 1 year. The root cause was that my brother can't drive. This is the same. The issue always was the upper motor neuron lesion, which is CP, hypoxia. Any issue has been done to the brain until it reached 5 years old, or the spinal cord until the anterior horn cell. This is an upper motor neuron, and the issue will be always the brain. So you have to talk to the brain, not to just give a lot of attention to the muscle stretch and strength.
So you're basically working on the hard drive.
Yes, that's it.
Are there cultural or social barriers that prevent families from seeking help?
Yeah, because you know the mother will always the first one to notice there is a problem with her child. And as we start our episode here, you told that, or we have been talking about the necessary and the importance of the early intervention with those children. So now, if a mother just recognizes that my child is doing as peer or as his colleagues, now she will ask her mother and or she sisters or her friends. So the first thing is, no, he's doing well, but maybe he's delaying like your nephew, he's delaying like my son, and so on. Please, whenever you recognize or you feel that there is something wrong, seeking for a neurologist. He's knowing how to tracking the normal development of the child. And let's say he's normal. Okay, you just you know now he's normal. But if he's facing an issue and you're waiting until he's 8 months or 9 months and still he doesn't gain his head control, for example, we are now talking about a big gap. Because when we are dealing with a child, there is a chronological age and developmental age. Chronological age means what is the age of the child from the delivery. So now he may be 8 months, 9 months, 1 year, 2 years, and so on. But the developmental age, what is the skills he can do? So if I have a child and he has no head control, so we are talking about developmental age 3 months, for example. So if I met this child and he was 5 months chronological age, I have a gap of 2 months. So my work will be easy. But if he is 8 months, I have a gap of 5 months. If I met a child which is 2 years old and still has no head control, I am talking about 1 year and 9 months of gap. So when this gap is shorter, I can do well with the children. Otherwise, we can do, but it will take a lot of time.
So the love of the mother to the child is the main reason of the delay. And this is a message to all mothers. Yes, we love our children, but we can give them the gift of the doubt.
Yeah, because I know that they are fearing of discovering that my child has an issue. But the earlier you discover this, the most your child will thrive and will participating in his life. Because everyone, I'm facing a family, and after like 1 hour assessment, they asked me 2 questions. First one, will my child will be normal? Second, what is the time he's needing to finish all of this? Regarding first question, no one is normal. Even when I am walking now, if you bringing orthopedic surgeon and see my foot, he will say you have a little flat foot in your left leg. No one is normal. There's nothing normal in our life. But the proper question is, will my child will be independent or not? That's our core. We want the children to be independent in their life. And then second thing, that what is the time needed? It depends on the child, because in classroom we meet one teacher and he has like 10 students. There is a student, he's understanding the lesson from the first time. There's another one, he needs 2 or 3. There's another one who needs a support group, and so on. So it differs from a child. From one child to another. Even they are having the same diagnosis, even they are twins. I am working with twins. One is working on standing, and another one is still working on head control. Even they are twins. They are sharing the same genetics, but they are facing the same diagnosis. But everyone is dealing with the environment in another way. So just keep calm, and the earlier you start with your child, the big gain you will have with them.
Yes. Mr. Hani, how do you advise parents to advocate for their child in the medical system?
Seek for someone who truly understands what's behind your symptom, because as we start our episode, the children will always having delaying in gross motor skills, fine motor skills, cognition, speech. So seeking for someone who is truly understand what's behind this. He's not dealing with your child like all of other children. No, I am knowing what exactly is the problem and what is he can, he can extract all of the complication your child facing, but now he can subcategorize them to primary complications, secondary and tertiary, and so on. So just not accepting that physiotherapy will be a lifestyle routine. No, we are not dealing with a lifestyle thing. No, we have goals and we can go behind all of things you see now.
And in your opinion, why play is essential in pediatric therapy?
Because the brain doesn't understand what we are doing until he can't focus on it. What is the meaning of this? Now, if you're standing and walking, your brain or you doesn't give attention to this. You are doing this subconsciously until there is something required your attention, like when you're driving a car and you did it like for millions of times. So you can drive in car until you reach your house without even recognize you are doing it, until someone is horning you or just giving the warning signs, the red bulbs on the behind of your car. So now they are attracting your attention again. Otherwise, you are playing your phone, you are listening to a song, and so on. So, if I wanted to truly work on the gross motor skills with a child, I want him to stand without even know he is standing. And because this is something called dynamic balance, and that's why if every family is struggling on it. My child now can balance, but he is only balancing while he is focusing on it. But in normal setting, he is walking on a mall, he is walking in his classroom, he's playing with his colleagues, so he can't give attention to standing because he is doing another thing. And all of this we can summarize it in motor control and motor planning series. We want the brain to know how to control its body without giving attention to it. So the fastest way to do that is an approach called task-oriented approach. We want a child to hold the ring and to put it in a cone, and his brain subconsciously will making all the balance strategies we needed to don't fall down. This is much helpful for a child from just make him standing on balance board, and even the brain doesn't know why I even want to stand on balance board. But if he's standing on the same balance board and I'm asking him to throw a ball like he's scoring a ball in basketball, now his brain will thrive to balance in this balance board because he has a task that I wanted to put the ball, for example, in the basketball and so on.
Got you. And what are the most common examples of therapy activities that look like play but serve critical functions?
All of this are under the task-oriented approach. We can designing because we don't have a specific example, but we are designing it on in the case we are facing. For example, we can meet a child who is, whenever he is standing, his right knee, for example, is overextended, who is push his knees back, but the other leg is inflexed. So this child after 2 or 3 years will facing hamstring shortening, and maybe he will need insertion and so on. But the root cause was he is not symmetrically standing in both of his, he's not distributing the weight on both of the legs. So if I'm trying to work with this child, I want his brain to notice the left leg. He is only putting weight on right, and left is just touching the floor. So if I makes this a child standing on the balance board and I am asking him to reach for something to put the ring, for example, on the cone, I am forcing him by the direction of the cone to put weight more on the left. So now I am designing the task to qualify my prerequisites that you have to put weight, to shift your weight to the left. Okay, so now we have in task-oriented approach, we have a prerequisite that we are trying to meet, and we are designing a task depending on all of the toys that correlate with the age of the child. So the brain now is busy with doing the task, but we are talking with the brain subconsciously to meet what we are doing. That will be much easier and much helpful for the child from just making him stand and push him to the left side. He will fight against me. He doesn't understand what I have to do it.
Yeah, that's very true.
You can push someone from his comfort zone and to challenge him when he's trying to play. But if it's not in a play, he will fight against it.
Very true. Mr. Hani, how parents can support therapy at home with fun and simple routines?
It depends on the case, as I always start to say, but there is positions. Those positions are crucial in the typical development for a child. So, for example, in the first 3 months, a child have to or having a lot of something called tummy time. The child has to be on his bottom. After 3 months, no, he has to bring a lot of time on his back. In a certain age, he has to sit a lot, and so on. So whatever his developmental age or whatever what is the skills we are working on, we support the family to makes a child participating on this position. So now if the child is struggling with head control, for example, and he has retained reflex, like a reflex called tonic-Laprine syndrome, for example. That's why we want a child to spend a lot of time in tummy time. So we ask the family to make the child on prone. If the child is struggling and he's always crying and he elevating his butt, we recommend the family to put something to elevate the upper body of the child. So we are putting a lot of weight in the direction of his butt, and now the child is able to participating because we solve this complication. Now we can just open a phone for him, bring a book with a black and white square, so we can facilitate his the development of his eye interaction. We can bring a toy which is moving and producing sound and light. So whatever the child start to participating and interacting with the environment in a certain position, we are directing his development. So in first 3 months, maybe he is in his bottom. And here again, I'm talking about developmental age, because maybe I'm facing a child 2 years old, but we are still in those skills. So for this child, the families bring the child and they always put him in a sitting chair. Okay, sitting chair is good for his bone. A standing frame is good for his bone, but for the brain, he doesn't understand what's it, because we have to go hierarchically. The brain has to know how to support the head from prone, from the lying on the bottom, then now has to know how to supporting the head from supine, from the lines of back. So now has to know how to interact with the environment while sitting. So then with a standing.
And what is the role of the family in the child's rehab journey?
They have a great role, because even I am working with a child in an intensive matter, which is, for example, 4 hours daily. They have another 10 hours in a home. So it's like I am digging a hole, and after I finish, someone has come and to bring all of half dig back. So the family has to collaborate with what we have to. We have to share one goal, but it's our mission to make everything clear to the family, whatever their background. Maybe I'm facing a family with a medical background, other one's engineer background. Whatever their background, I have to give them examples and know exactly what I'm working on, and give them tips and tricks to support what I'm doing, because now I am taking a brain from his comfort, from its comfort zone, and I want to push it to a more challenging way. If it's a brain now, it just, I know always I will sleeping. My child always on his back. I want to push him to sit. Why I will sit? I am always on my back, and all of one is a struggle to help me. Even if I want something, they will hold me up and do it. Okay, but now I have to work. I have to do it by my own. Like my wife is always making food for me, and my friend come and teach me a new way to cooking rice, for example, but I will not do it because my wife always cooking food for me. So the first thing, if my friend wants me to really try it, he will call my wife, don't cook today, and go out from home and take all of phone, so he can't order anything from outside. So he's just pushing me to try this. Otherwise, I know how to do it, but I will not use it.
Okay. And how can we educate and empower caregivers to be therapy partners?
It depends on a lot of things. Number one, we have to share the same knowledge, and here we do delivering workshops and orientation about what we are trying to do here, because first of all we have to share the same knowledge. After this, we have now a common language we can talking about. And here in I Walk and Talk, we're having pleasure to do all of this with another institutes and with another collaborations, because what we only are seeking here is not just bringing a great results with our children, but just to spread this information for everyone, because whatever the team we have here, we can't work with all of the children. But if you are distributing your information and your knowledge with another expertise, you can do more with those children. And that's our mission here.
Interesting. Mr. Hani, how can we offer mental health support for parents of children with special needs?
In Europe, whenever a family has an documentation, insurance, or doesn't know what is the name of this, but whenever there is a result that there are CP children, for example, the family has to enroll in a group therapy for 2 weeks or 3 weeks just to prepare the family what you are going to face now, because all of this is related to the family. You know, in adult, if I have like disc, like if I have sciatica or something, the opinion is on me, okay, and the decision is on me. But the child has no decision. It's all about related to the family. So maybe you are doing well with the child, but the family lose their hope and they suggest to stop therapy for the child, because every time maybe they are surrounded with another colleagues that they are pushing them, why you are trying all of this, this is this is the god decision, and they just put him, support him, but they will not do anything else. So you have to know how to support the families, because they are the, yeah, they are the demo. If they suggest to stop everything, everything will stop, even you know you are doing well as a child. And because we are not talking about like a dentist, it's a short-term therapy. No, we are talking about long-term therapy. So it's a decision, and it's a life-making decision. So you have to support him, and to always mention to them what's the progression you did. Even it's a mimic progression, you have always to maximize it and to show it to the family, because they, every time they enter your clinics, you have to push them that you are on the right track.
Very true. How movement and physical activity relate to overall happiness and health?
Okay, when you're talking about this psychological issue, it's called regulation. And even with us neurotypical individuals, we are not the same in regulation. Maybe my tears come faster than my brother. Regulation here, it's a reflection of the experiences that we have met starting from our first day in the life. I don't want to say a lot of biomedical and theoretical issues, but regulation comes from dopamine, for example, in the brain, and it's all related to the proprioceptive system. So whatever the child move, his brain is ready to regulate and to modulate all of the sensory systems, all of the sensory signals he's receiving. And that's why, for example, if you see before an autistic child, you will always that he moves his head, or he's hitting his body, or he's pitting his finger. It's not a behavioral issue. Maybe it's a behavioral issue for sure, but in some cases it's just that the brain wants the biochemical substance that's released when you bite yourself. You got my point? So when a child is in a moving status, and he's always dealing with the gravity, and he's always receiving inputs from his joints and his muscles, all of this help him, or help the brain to be in an arousal and regulated state. Otherwise, the brain will be easily distracted, and the child will start to cry even if you try to move him from the bed to your bed.
Oh, is there a connection between good nutrition and therapy success?
Yes, for sure, because like an example of the car, if I have my car but it has no gas, has no oil, it will not doing well even I am the best driver in the world. So it's like a one circle for the body. That's why in all of the healthcare, the child has to seek for a nutritionist who will see exactly what is the type of foods he needs. And we are here talking about just giving the healthy food and power for the child. In another cases like mitochondrial disorder, for example, he has to take a certain diet, otherwise his body can't extract the energy needed for doing. So now the brain knows how to sit, and the child wants to sit, but he has no power to do it for a long time. So it's always related to the diagnosis, and the nutritionist role is crucial in success of all of this.
Interesting. And what are the most recent innovations or emerging tools in therapy, like technology, applications, and adaptive equipment?
There is a big revolution in this industry now, because before we were just talking about walking aids or wheelchair, but now they are integrating AI and even augmented reality with the child. So we have now an easy access to the brain, like a back door with the brain. We can talk it with it in a simple way. So in training the brain, or even with the giving an aid for the child to participating in an independent way on his daily life activities, there is a great stuff now. And you can see it in expos. There is an expo for people of determination. You will see a lot of revolution things there.
Perfect. Mr. Hani, how do you envision therapy evolving in the next decade?
Now in every profession, AI is going like a fast, you know. But in children, I always say that you can't find an AI model who will try to dealing with a child, because in children you are facing a different. You are facing a different individual in every session, even he is the same child, but maybe today he is fine and he want to contribute. In another session, no, I want to contribute. So you have to know the knowledge and the ability to accommodate to the child. So I see in the next 10 years you will see a lot of aids and a lot of technologies that support our work, but in physiotherapy I don't see that AI will take our part, because it's a different thing.
I fully agree. It's the same because it's the same applies to pharmacy. Mr. Hani, if there is only one thing every parent should know from you, what it should be?
Your child is unique, your child is different, and you have to know how to support it to its optimal or the highest level he can do. If you lose faith or you lose trust in your child, maybe he's supposed to doing great, but you are limiting him. So just don't lose hope in your child.
So, we want to live life without limitation.
Yeah, that's it.
That's a wrap for today's episode of Healthy and Happy Living with Tiryaq. A huge thank you to Mr. Mohamed Hani from I Walk and Talk Clinic for sharing his expertise and valuable insights into pediatric rehabilitation, therapy, and cortical visual impairment. It is clear that with the right support and knowledge, we can make a lasting difference in the lives of children and families. If you enjoyed today's episode, be sure to subscribe, share, and leave a review. And remember, whether it's physical health, mental well being, or just living a more joyful life, every small step counts. Until next episode of the Healthy and Happy Living with Tiryaq, take joy wherever you go.